Before we begin working, we need to take care of a little bit of housekeeping. 3ds Max is a project-based application, so it's assumed that you've got a project folder in which all of the assets needed to render a particular scene are contained. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to set some preferences and we're going to create a project folder for the course. Or more specifically, we're going to point at an existing project folder. So the first thing I want you to do is go into the Customize menu of 3ds Max and you'll go into Preferences. In the Files tab, you'll see there is an option here that says Convert Local File Paths to Relative, and that should be enabled. And what that means is when you create a new material, 3ds Max is going to track the location of any bitmaps or any external files relative to the current project folder. So in the past, a lot of people have had their own methods for managing their assets in 3ds Max, but now we've got a better way, which is to just keep everything inside one project folder. So in order for that to work correctly, we want to have this Convert Local File Path to Relative option enabled. The next thing we need to do is either create a project folder or point at an existing project folder. And since we're providing the exercise files to you, we're going to be pointing at one of those project folders to begin. In 3ds Max, however, there is a single command to do both of these. So in other words, whether you're starting from scratch or whether you're pointing to an existing project folder, you're going to use the same command. You can access that command in two ways. You can go through the Application button and go to Manage, Set Project Folder. Or there's a shortcut just up here on the application caption bar. Here you'll see Project Folder, and it'll tell you what your current project folder is when you hover your mouse over it. And then when you click on it, you will get a dialog where you can browse. So you'll see here all the exercise files. What you're going to want to do at the beginning of each chapter is to set your project folder to the appropriate chapter. Since we're starting from chapter 1, I'm going to click here on 01 Mental Ray Concepts. You'll see a bunch of mysteriously named subfolders inside there. And those are all of 3ds Max's project folders for different data types. And again, the relevant ones in this case are Scenes, which is where your 3ds Max geometry scene files will be stored. Scene Assets, which is where images and photometric data files will be stored. And Render Output, which is where your finished renderings will be found. The one thing you want to make sure that you don't do is select one of these subdirectories. Because if you click on one of these, what's going to happen is 3ds Max is going to create a nested project folder with this as the new root. In other words, you'll end up with another set of mysteriously named folders inside this one, and it'll be very confusing. And when you try to do your renderings, the bitmap files will not be found and it'll be a mess. So be sure that you're selecting the top level of the project folder that corresponds to the root or the home base of that project folder. And you want to do that at the beginning of each chapter of the course. Excellent. So now we've got our project set for the first chapter.